going to spend about, well, certainly more than is customary of my speech on rebuttal, because they said a lot of things that were wrong, and they said most of the things that are right. No point denying it. I'm then going to say a few new things, or at least I'm going to claim that they're new. About how people take their cues from your physical appearance. I am going to say a little bit more about sexualization and just how incredibly distressing that can be. And I'm going to say a small bit more about social services and how we trust them. Ah! Sorry, this time confuses me. How we trust, no, it's fact, to make decisions. Okay. Very important first thing to start with. First op's idea that this was a quick fix. I don't think I'm stretching things too much to say, A, that this is not in any particularly meaningful sense a fix. We're not fixing anyone. And B, it's not a quick fix in the sense that Ara will just pop out that growth bit and then everything will be fine. No, it's still going to be quite difficult for them, for their carers, for their parents, for everyone involved. We think that idea is a bit ridiculous. So, let's start with the things that Neil said, some of which he kind of already gave up on, but we'll do it anyway. Number one, it is wrong to change people because of things that inhere in them, because of who they are, all that sort of stuff. Then when asked, what if the change was to cure them? Neil said, oh, well, that would obviously be completely okay. So, there goes his principle, obviously. And the grounds on which he sacrificed it is, if you would make them better off by the change, if it would be for their good, then he is absolutely okay with that. We're obviously going to show that this is for their good. No thanks. His second point was, there exist risks, complications, etc. Now, look, I'm not going to get bogged down in the wanky factual debate, because I don't know any facts. I don't read nearly as much as people think I do. I suspect these guys probably know, but in any case, we'll take it on either way. Assuming that there are risks, because there are to most things in the universe, we think it's fair to say that we might consider weighing those up against the benefits, and those also exist. And we think that social services, as I'll talk more about later, are well placed to do this. Does this mean treating all mentally ill people as children? No. It means treating people who are mentally children as children. We think that is an appropriate way to treat people who are mentally children. Parents should have the choice because they're the ones who have to bear the responsibility, was Neil's angle on this. Well, we say a couple of things to this. First of all, just because they have to bear the responsibility doesn't mean that they can do things that will make their child much worse off, much more likely to be sexually abused or raped or have the incredible trauma of going through a sexualization that they can't even hope to understand. No, thank you. But secondly, we think, yes, this is an enormous responsibility for the parent, and we think we make that much more bearable responsibility when we do this. So on both points, that falls apart. So, okay, briefly. They have a lower life expectancy. I think that's probably not true, because your recollection of something which you said was based on another condition that's kind of like this treatment, probably not super reliable anyway, and they just read about it recently. But even if what you said about lower life expectancy is true, we're willing to take a slightly harder stance on this and say, we're not just here to maximize the length of their life. We think that our proposition will make their lives better, and we prefer value and quality to duration. So, insofar as they have a shorter but less raped life, we regard that as a good. Tom said it is good for these children to grow up, and he gave two reasons for this, which are equally ridiculous. The first one was they want. Children want to be big kids. They want to be grown-ups. There are a few problems with this. The main one is that the things that make children want to be grown-ups are basically misconceptions of how good it is to be a grown-up. Frankly, I want to be a kid again. It was a great time. But more seriously, they have the mental age of a 4-year-old. We don't give them everything that they want just because they want it, ladies and gentlemen. We know better than they do whether what they think they want will make them better off, will make them happier. And we say it definitely won't. Because being more of a grown-up means they will be treated more as a grown-up when they are not a grown-up inside themselves, ladies and gentlemen. And so the second thing Tom said was, it will become obvious that they are different from their peers when they don't age at the same rate. We think when they don't mentally age at the same rate, that will make it perfectly clear to their friends and peers that they are different, ladies and gentlemen. We think where this makes a big difference isn't with their peers who will know in any case. It's with people who've never met them before and who, if they look like a grown-up, will assume that they act like a grown-up because that's what we do, ladies and gentlemen. Whereas if they look like a child, they will assume that they act like a child, they will assume that they have the innocence of a child, that they need the protection of a child, and that's all a good thing. Emily said, this will stop the pressure to fight discrimination. Yeah, like burglar alarms stop the pressure to fight crime. Like rape alarms stop the pressure to fight crime. Like, it's just ridiculous on so many levels. Aside from the fact that this is going to apply to like a dozen people out of the 60 million in the UK, we don't think that's going to be a big deal, but also we think it's going to make this a lot more high profile. We think that increased discussion is, if anything, going to help reduce discrimination. Go on. Don't mind. Go on.
How do you expect the parent-child relationship to be affected when in the only cases relevant to this debate, the first thing that happens is they're taken away against the parents' will and operated on by the state?
Yeah. So we're pretty sure the parents will continue to love their child unconditionally. If we don't, if the parents aren't willing to love and support their child, we'd probably consider that grounds to take them away, depending on how serious the parents were about it. But we think that in almost all cases, A, the parents will support this, and B, even if they don't support it at the time, and that's very important, they will come to realise later that it was the right decision. Right, oh, bloody hell, my 3 substantive points. Number 1, people take their cues from physical appearance. It's a very real fact that, for example, tall kids in classes are systematically treated as though they're more mature than their peers because they look more like adults. Like, that is a well-documented fact. And whatever about the people they already know, you'll have to keep meeting new people all the time. I said I would talk more about sexualization. That has turned out to be a lie. But it is nonetheless true, and no one will use more words to say this, that it is very suppressive to be sexualized, to be in a position where you want and are able to get sex, but you can't understand the harms and the consequences, and social services can make good decisions. We beg your pardon.